Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us worldwide. Thank you for being here today for the IATO's Special Interest Group in Leadership, featuring our guest speaker, Dr. Kelly Miller. I'm Jose Rodriguez, class, the Director of Access Services and Learning Commons at the University of Miami in the United States, and a member of IATO's Special Interest Group in Leadership. Before we proceed with this exciting conversation, I would like to cover some important logistics. Firstly, please note that this webinar will be recorded. I kindly ask that you remain muted during Dr. Miller's presentation. You will have the chance to ask questions at the end, and we will have about 10 to 15 minutes. Please feel free to enter your questions in the chat, and I will read them aloud for Dr. Miller to address. Also, I would like to start with an acknowledgement for our land acknowledgement. I'm zooming in today from the University of Miami in Coral Gables, Florida, in the United States, on the ancestral territories of the Miccosukee, Tequesta, and Seminole, who are its original owners and custodians. Thank you, everyone. So now I do want to take the time to introduce our speaker, Kelly Miller. Kelly Miller is the Associate Dean for Learning and Research Services at the University of Miami Libraries. She's also the Director of the library's Mindfulness and Wellbeing programs and a certified mindfulness meditation teacher who leads weekly virtual sessions and mindfulness meditations for the campus community. Curly earned an MA and PhD in Slavic languages and literatures from the University of Michigan. In 2005, she was awarded a Council on Library Information Resources postdoctoral fellowship that brought her into libraries. Since 2005, she has worked in academic library leadership, including at the University of Virginia and UCLA, helping these libraries adapt spaces and services to meet the contemporary needs of students and faculty. In recent years, she has focused on developing library spaces and services that support mental health and well-being. From 2020 to 2023, Kelly was the inaugural chair of the IATO SIG on library space. So with no further ado, here's Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Jose, and thank you to the entire IATL Leadership Special Interest Group for the invitation to present today. I'm very honored to be here, humbled to be here, and grateful for this chance to meet and speak with all of you today, and to hear your questions and comments in the Q&A period, which will follow my presentation. Which will be at the beginning mostly a presentation, but then we'll shift into experiential practices that hopefully will offer you a chance to try out some mindfulness practices for yourself that could be helpful in your daily life and work. So I'm going to forward my screen here. So as we start, I'd like to offer gratitude to Jose and others involved in our library's Wellbeing Collective, which is a group of inspiring library employees here at the University of Miami Libraries, some of whom are on this call. And they're dedicated to offering programs for their colleagues that help cultivate health and well-being. And they do so from their own interests and talents and knowledge. So here's a photo of an event we organized earlier this year that took us to the Everglades National Park to do volunteer service. I wouldn't be here today speaking with you without the support and encouragement of these colleagues. Maybe the most important message I have to share is that we can't do this work of improving our well-being alone. We do it together. So, because today's session is meant to be experiential, to offer you the chance to try out several different mindfulness meditation practices for yourself, I wanted to begin with an informal practice that's brief. It'll only take about 2 minutes or so, and it'll give you a taste of what I'll offer at the conclusion of my remarks. These practices that I'll offer today don't require any previous experience with meditation, and they can be incorporated into your daily work life as you feel appropriate. The practices help cultivate inner strength and resilience in the face of change and adversity. That is, they help us lead from within. So if you be willing to try this practice, we'll begin with breathing with our hands. And so much of our daily life in universities and libraries, especially, we spend really in our minds. And this is a tiny practice that can help us connect with our breath and body sensations and ground us in our present moment reality. So here, I'll lead you through the practice, and you'll need your hands. And you can just follow me at first.
Kelly, if I
So
may, sorry, if I
yes,
may, I just want to, someone said in the chat, are you guys all able to see Kelly's screen,
yeah,
her presentation?
okay, let's check.
Beth says yes, Lauren says yes. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
and
Thank you
then
for clarifying. Sorry.
Jose, importantly for this, hopefully you can also see me. If not, we can stop the slide share.
We do.
We
I
can?
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. So we're going, the take 5 here is, this is a tiny practice. As I mentioned, you can incorporate into your daily life in between meetings, or Zoom meetings, or different encounters with colleagues. So using your hands, you're going to place the index finger of one hand on the center of the palm of the other. It doesn't matter which hand. And then just watching me for a moment to get the hang of it. On the inhale, you're going to gently trace your finger to the very end of your pinky finger. And on the exhale, gently draw it back to the center of your palm. And then we'll do that for the next fingers as well. So following me, let's just take a deep breath together to center ourselves. And then placing your index finger in the center of the palm. With a deep inhale, tracing your finger out to the end of the pinky finger. And then with a long exhale, coming back to the center. And if this feels awkward at first, no worries. You'll get the hang of it. And then inhaling to the next finger. And then coming back to the center on the exhale. Moving again on the inhale to the end of the next finger. On the exhale back. And then going out to the end of the next finger on the inhale. And on the exhale, slowly coming back to the center. And maybe on this next one, see if you can lengthen your exhale just a little bit. And then coming back to the center of your palm, just pausing for a moment and just feeling what that feels like to take these 5 breaths where you're breathing with, connecting with the sensation of touch. And then let's, if it feels right to you, you can take another 5 breaths, but this time I'll be quiet, I'll do it with you, but do it at your own pace. So listening to your own breath and feeling this sensation of touch. See if you can connect your breath to this gentle movement. So coming back to center, once again, just taking a moment to notice whatever's here in your experience. What does it feel like to do this practice? And just allowing for whatever experience you've had. And then maybe if you'd like, we can use the chat throughout my talk as a place where you can mention your experience. So if you want to notice, oh, that felt calming, or oh, I feel impatient, or you can note in the chat if you'd like, just sharing your experience. So the next part of this practice, though, I'd like to sort of build on what we just did with this touch, and that's we can then take our hands and warm them up a little bit. So I want to introduce the theme of my talk, which is pivoting to the heart. So warming up your hands, then placing your hands on your heart and just feeling what that feels like to have your hands touching this part of your body, this area where our heart is, the heart space. And taking a few more deep breaths there. And on my screen, I can only see myself and Jose, but we can do one last kind of fun part of this practice, and that's you can place your hands on the side, and if there are other people in your gallery, you can kind of imagine if only we could reach out and touch those around us and really feel this embodied connection that we have with each other, even through Zoom. So thank you for this opening practice and this chance to really arrive together here from across the world, around the world. We're joining from many countries, many continents. And so part of my theme today is remembering our human beingness amidst all that's arising in our world. So this photograph of the Earth offers what astronaut Ron Garan calls the orbital perspective that reminds us of our interconnection and interdependence with each other, the natural world, and our planet itself. This spacious perspective and deep understanding is needed now in a time of climate emergency and relating crises, such as increasing political instability, poverty, migration, and war. This emergency, the climate emergency, is affecting us as living beings across the globe in varying ways, especially those most vulnerable. The effects on our mental health are profound. In short, it's a time of stressed nervous systems and collective heartbreak and grief when we need to discover ways to center and quiet ourselves amidst all of these challenges that are arising. And so a question that I've been living with in my work in libraries is how do we, in our roles, working in libraries as librarians, as leaders, how do we learn to steady ourselves to be able to support and care for others and ourselves? And how do we discern the most appropriate, wisest actions to take? In this session, you'll discover along with me as we accompany each other through this talk is that I'm inviting us to pivot to the heart in this moment and touch into a contemplative quiet with which libraries have long been associated. So the seeds of presence, equanimity, and care are present in each of us, in our consciousness, and in all of our library institutions. But it's my understanding that these seeds just need to be watered, cultivated, like you would cultivate seeds in a garden to support our mental health in these times. And mindfulness offers us a way that is accessible to all. So there are many paths to mindfulness practice. My own path was through personal heartbreak, the loss of a long-term relationship. Others come to mindfulness due to chronic stress, the death of a loved one, or diagnosis of a life-threatening illness. Others come to mindfulness because it's inspirational and they're seeking more happiness in life, or perhaps they've grown up with these practices. There are many paths to mindfulness. So what's my own story? Well, more than 10 years ago, I was hired to become Associate Dean for Learning and Research Services here at the University of Miami Libraries. It was such an exciting opportunity. But at the same time that this new professional opportunity had arisen, my partnership, a relationship of nearly 20 years, was ending. So here I was, a new library leader, living in a new city with new responsibilities and duties, and I felt unmoored, like I didn't have the ground I needed to survive. So looking back, this challenge that I faced was actually great good fortune because it led me to begin a meditation practice. Listening to wise teachers and practicing with others, I began to learn how to still my physical body and begin to observe what was happening in my mind, and also learn to rest in my heart. And I was very motivated to learn. I wanted to experience a different way to work with pain and stress, to approach the suffering I was experiencing in a more skillful way. I also started to paint and draw more. Creativity is an important source of solace since my childhood, a place I've turned to. So this is my colored pencil drawing of the experience of a broken heart, what it feels like. And who amongst us hasn't suffered at some point in our lives from a broken heart? And now I feel that we're in this time of collective heartbreak. So there's a connection there as well. Experiencing painful, stressful, difficult things in life is an inevitable part of being human. It connects us as human beings. When we encounter stressful experiences in life, our sympathetic nervous system can activate. We react by wanting to flee from the pain, or we try to resist it and fight it, or we freeze and get numb and try to pretend it's not there. We get disassociated. So this is what scientists, psychologists call the fight, flight, freeze response of our sympathetic nervous system. And why it's challenging is that we're often living automatically in these reactive responses. And we're operating by conditioning and habit without conscious awareness. And our nervous system is meant to protect us, but in our modern life, we're often lost in this reactivity chronically and without awareness. But there's this other possibility, another way to be with the challenges that arise in life. And there's this possibility of being able to consciously relate to stress, to the emotional and psychological tension that arises in us as we strain to deal with adverse circumstances. So what exactly is mindfulness? We see it everywhere. In the US, it's on covers of magazines in the grocery store line. It's the topic of so many thousands of podcasts, and we see it everywhere. So what is it? Especially if we haven't had the chance to practice. What is it? It's an innate capacity we all have as human beings to be aware of what's happening in a given moment, to be attentive with intention. And perhaps you sensed it as we breathed with our hands, connected to your own breath, connected to the sensation of touch, really present to your own experience. In mindfulness practice, we're doing this over and over. We're training our own awareness, bringing it home again and again, coming home to ourselves. In a way, anchoring, grounding our attention within our immediate experience. The roots of these practices are offered. The roots of the practices that I'm offering to you today have their origins in ancient Buddhist monastic traditions transmitted over centuries to today. These practices have been adapted, are being studied by neuroscientists and psychologists, and they're now used in secular contexts. For instance, here in the US, mindfulness-based stress reduction classes and courses are used in hospitals and clinics, universities, prisons, so many different types of environments. I'll speak briefly about the research behind mindfulness in a few moments. So in mindfulness practice, as I mentioned, we're training our heart, minds, and bodies to be all here together in the present moment. Research shows that about half the time, we're not here. Our attention is not in the present moment. We're lost in thoughts about the past, or we're rehearsing something for the future. We're worrying about what might happen. And a significant thing is that when scientists have studied this, the people who are ruminating or rehearsing, noticing that that's happening, they report that they're not really that happy in that moment. So well-being, being happy, being content with our experience happens only in the present moment. In mindfulness meditation, we're intentionally cultivating awareness of this moment by learning to focus our attention, learning to work with our own attention. We practice grounding our attention in the breath and the body, and we learn to bear witness to our own experience in an appreciative way, a gentle way. By activating this mindfulness, we also can become aware of feelings and thoughts that are present and learn gradually to work more skillfully with them rather than being tossed about by them. This flowering plant, this photograph that you see in front of you on the screen, this reminds me of this power of our awareness to bring us into the present moment. These flowers, which have 3 colors on their leaves, are called yesterday, today, and tomorrow flowers. What would it be like to live more fully here as librarians, as leaders, as humans, in the here and now more often? So there's another quality or aspect of mindfulness that's so crucial. We only have awareness, but there's no kindness, then mindfulness actually isn't fully present. So mindfulness consists of present moment awareness with an additional aspect of kindness or care, or some teachers call it unstoppable friendliness. And for me, my cat is a really good example of unstoppable friendliness. This is Zorka, and she loves coming into my presentations. So I've added her here. She says hello, sends her purring greetings. So ultimately, as we practice mindfulness, we can start to notice these qualities in ourselves. This quality of being able to be aware of what's happening in a caring way. And why is this so critical when, when we meet pain or difficulties or challenge, stress, with mindful awareness, with kind awareness? Then what gets activated is this also innate capacity we have for compassion, to wish to alleviate pain and suffering when they arise. And the same works with when mindfulness and kindness, so when this quality of awareness and care meets someone's joy, it becomes what is called in Buddhism sympathetic joy. We become happy for another's happiness. So it works in beautiful ways, really no matter what's happening. But with compassion, we learn gradually to meet our pain without resisting it, trying to make it go away, but really tending to it, caring for it. And the results of this kind of radical way of being in the world is greater internal freedom. And greater internal freedom can be experienced as a result of this mindfulness training, moment by moment, day by day. It can bring a freedom that offers a quiet happiness that comes from just appreciating being alive and being able to connect with others. So the effect of cultivating mindfulness, me in my daily life, and I've been practicing now daily for about 10 years, is gradually what's been happening is a sensation of opening of the heart. Mindfulness gives us this opportunity to be with problems, challenges, difficulties in more clear-eyed, spacious ways. This is my drawing of what my heart began to feel like after my first year of daily mindfulness meditation and movement incorporated into my experience. My heart began to calm and began to be able to be with difficulties in less reactive ways. It certainly didn't do away with my challenges in life. In a way, the more significant ones arose for me to deal with. So it didn't stop thoughts or emotions from happening, but mindfulness has given me more capacity to be with what's happening in a stable, open, curious way. There's a lot of research on this, and our libraries, our universities are filled with more than, I think the latest count is 14,000 articles on the effects of mindfulness that include all kinds of benefits, such as boosting the immune system, reducing stress, depression, anxiety, increasing creativity, symptom reduction, improvements in biological markers, greater neuroplasticity. The list of benefits goes on and on, but ultimately it's about practicing to discover what it offers for us, for ourselves. and how it begins to change our relationships with others. So for the next part of this presentation, I'd like to offer us some practices so you can try them out for yourself. I'm going to offer 3 practices. Each one kind of focuses on a different quality that is important as library leaders, as we show up in our work environment. These 3 practices can help support us in cultivating presence, really being present to what's happening. It can help us cultivate equanimity or balance. Another way of talking about this can be inclusivity, being able to include what's happening rather than reject it. And then care. So how do we cultivate care? So it was really profound for me to realize, oh, there are actually practices to help me cultivate these qualities. So at this point, I'd like to kind of shift, and you've been sitting listening to me for some time now, so you might want to wiggle in your chair a little bit, stretch, might need to move a little. But I invite you to just find a seat where you feel like you can be both comfortable and alert, relaxed and at ease. And I'll begin with offering us this stop practice. And this is often taught in clinical environments to people training to be nurses and doctors so that they can be more present for patient after patient over the course of a day. And the stop practice has this acronym. In the US, we have these stop signs that say stop. So it kind of works well for us, but you can adapt it for your culture, your environment. But the first step is the hardest. It's actually pausing in the midst of our day to realize we need to tend to ourselves and really be with ourselves a little more. And it can often be a helpful practice when you're not feeling that great, like you actually dread going into that next meeting, or you're just wishing for a little bit of support for yourself. Okay, so we begin by pausing. Okay, I really need to find my ground here. So I'll invite you, we'll do this next one together. We'll just take a few deep breaths together. And you might naturally lower your gaze or close your eyes. So however you want to do it is great, but just taking some big deep breaths. And take a few and just see, how does it feel to be taking these big deep breaths as you experience this talk? And it can help to lengthen the exhale, because when you lengthen the exhale, you're actually activating your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of our nervous system that helps us rest and digest. So taking one more deep breath, maybe the deepest breath you've taken all day. And then I'll invite you to look up above your Zoom screen, and we're going to tap into our ability to see. So looking up above your Zoom screen, just notice what you see in your environment. And perhaps as you look around the room where you're in, you might see things you haven't even noticed before. And you can gently note to yourself colors, shapes, objects. And just appreciate the fact that you have this capacity to see. And this helps us actually feel safe. We orient and tell our bodies know they are safe by checking in with our physical environment. So then the next sense that we can connect with here in this practice is hearing. So I invite you, I'll be quiet for a moment and just listen for any sounds in your environment. Maybe you didn't notice much at all, or maybe you noticed sounds of fans whirring, birds chirping. Then the next sense we can tap into is touch. So just noticing where your hands are in space and noticing what is the sensation of touch. Maybe there's roughness of fabric. Maybe you notice temperature, heat or coolness. We can also notice if there's a taste in the mouth. We can notice smells in the environment. So we can use our senses to help bring us more fully here in an embodied way. And then we'll shift from our senses to noticing what's happening in the mind. So you might already be aware of thoughts arising. And here we're not really getting caught up in the thoughts, we're just noticing, I'm getting pulled towards something in the past, or something's pulling me towards the future. Maybe you're thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. So you just notice that, okay, I'm planning, I'm remembering. And then we can also check in with our emotions and we can just see, how am I feeling in this moment? And here's, if we're feeling calm and good, great. If we're not, this is a moment to bring some compassion for ourselves. So, at the beginning, we said we can place our hand on our heart. And there's lots of research behind even this simple gesture of tending to ourselves like this can bring great benefit. So you can just tap into how you're feeling and momentarily tending to yourself. And then after you've done this inventory of how you are in this moment, where you are, then you can proceed to the next thing that you were planning to do, the next Zoom meeting or the next appointment. Okay, so this is cultivating presence. And one of my inspirations for presence is this beautiful great white heron in the Everglades, who sits with such poise, such dignity and presence. Okay, so, and feel free in the chat, after any of these practices, you can drop in questions or comments like, oh, this is the effect that practice had on me. Or, oh, I have this question about it. Okay, so for the sake of our time, because I'm going to continue to the next practice, and then in the Q&A, you can ask me questions and you can offer comments and share your experience. So this next practice is, as we become more present, we can also begin to practice what we call equanimity or balance. So just like a tree, this is a beautiful banyan tree on the University of Miami campus. Just as a banyan tree has these beautiful branches that go out, it also has these amazing roots that go down into the earth. And so it's actually, if you saw it above and below ground, it has beautiful balance and structure. And it stays rooted and connected to the earth. So in our equanimity practice and our meditation practice, we connect to the ground and the earth in this way where we can be inspired by trees themselves. So I'll invite you here, this will actually be a more formal meditation. So I'll invite you to find a position, a posture where you can be both dignified and at ease, relaxed but alert. And then lowering your gaze or closing your eyes, whatever feels right to you. And then taking another deep breath like we did before. And allowing that long exhale to help your parasympathetic nervous system wake up. And then we're going to begin by paying attention to our feet, but not thinking about our feet, but feeling into sensations in the feet on the ground. So you might notice tingling in your toes, or might notice areas of contact with the ground or areas of no contact. So just really feeling into your feet. And as you do this, feeling into the sensation of connection with the ground, connection with the earth itself. And you might even invite in this knowing that the earth is there holding and supporting us even without us having to do anything at all. We can rest in our seats. We can rest on the earth, just feeling our feet and their connection with the ground. And now I'll invite you to shift your attention, this time to your sit bones. So noticing the connection of your body with the chair that you're sitting on. And maybe you notice areas of contact with the chair or areas of no contact. You might feel the weight, the gravity of the body, or the weight of the body with gravity acting upon it. So just allowing yourself to be held by the chair, just as you allow yourself to be held by the earth. What does it feel like to sit here dignified and at ease amidst everything that's happening, knowing that you are grounded and connected to the earth? And then you can shift your attention again. So another anchor for our attention when things become turbulent can be our hands. So feeling into your fingertips and your palms and your hands. And here noticing sensations, perhaps heat or coolness. Maybe you feel some buzzing. You can gently name to yourself whatever you feel in your hands. So allowing your awareness to rest in your hands. And maybe even some appreciation for your hands is awakening in you. Our hands do so much for us during the course of the day. And then the next sort of movement in this equanimity practice is to then turn your attention to the breath. And here we're going to notice how air is coming into the body through the nostrils. So you might feel the movement of air in through the nostrils, and maybe you notice temperature there. Is it cool or warm? Or maybe you notice the breath in the chest or the belly. And it can help to put your hand on the belly and really feel that connection. And you can feel the gentle movement of air in and out of the body. The amazing thing is our breath is always with us. Until we die, our breath is with us. So it can always be an anchor for our attention. And really, breathing is always happening. So we don't need to control it or try to change it. We can just allow it to be moving. And as we connect and sync up with it, it can be great relief for our body. And our mind can steady as a result. And now, an invitation to open your awareness and feel your whole body sitting here from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. And just for a moment, feel your whole body being here on this chair, on this ground. And feel yourself like a tree, able to be rooted and connected. Great. And as this practice comes to an end, you might even offer some gratitude to yourself for trying this meditation of anchoring our attention in the present moment. And again, as we come out of the practice, if you'd like, you can drop in a word or two about how you feel now in this moment after doing that practice. So this is cultivating equanimity, presence in the midst of change. So the last practice we'll do builds on these first two. So presence, equanimity, and now how do we cultivate care? Well, it's probably already started to awaken in you to really come more fully present in those practices we just did, but we can try this loving kindness practice. That's what it's called in the Buddhist tradition. But it's a practice of cultivating well wishes for self and other. And this can really deepen our sense of care and connection with ourselves and others, especially in challenging times. This can be supportive. If there's one of any of these practices that's been the most transformative for me in my life, it's this loving kindness practice, the cultivation of care. So for this practice, we'll again sit in a meditative posture, but I'll invite you to bring to mind someone who's supported you a lot on your path. So this could be a mentor in your work life. It could be a beloved grandmother or grandfather. It could be a really trusted friend who's shown up for you in difficult times. And in the practice, what I'll do is offer some well wishes, and you can gently repeat them to yourself if they feel right to you. So this is what we're going to be working with in this final practice that I'll offer before we move to Q&A. Okay, so again, settling yourself in your seat, again, connecting with your present moment experience. And maybe already you've noticed that sound really works for you to connect. Or maybe you've noticed that, it feels really helpful to connect with my feet. Or I really feel a connection with my hands. Or I feel I can rest with my breath. So you know what's your best anchor. So finding whatever anchor for you works the best. And then lowering your gaze or closing your eyes once more. Connecting with your chosen anchor for your attention. And whenever the mind drifts away, you can just keep coming back to this anchor. Feeling the warmth of your hands, the sensations in your feet, the movement of breath in the body. So feeling grounded and connected, bringing to mind someone who's supported you a lot in life. Someone for whom your care and love comes very easily, like they just appear in the mind quickly. You can work with that person. Or sometimes it's a non-human, sometimes it's a beloved dog, a beloved pet. So just imagining that person in your mind's eye, imagining them even looking at you, gazing at you, and feeling their care for you. And feeling all the ways they helped you and supported you, and how much you appreciate that support in life. And I'm going to gently offer some phrases of well wishes where we're inclining our heart to wish this beloved person well. And you can repeat them after me or adapt them as you'd like. So imagining this beloved person before you. May you be well. May you be healthy and strong. May you be happy and safe. May you be free from suffering. And may you live with ease. Just imagining that person before you, wishing them well in your heart. And you can imagine them looking back at you and wishing these same things for you. Imagine them gazing at you. May you be well. May you be healthy and strong. May you be happy and safe. May you be free from suffering. and may you live with ease. So feeling whatever you're feeling right now, we're going to turn our attention now to ourselves. So perhaps carrying this quality of care, then turning it towards ourselves. And if it feels right, you can put one hand or both hands on your heart. And I'll offer the phrases again and imagine offering them to yourself. And if it feels kind of hard or corny, you can imagine your kid self. So maybe bringing to mind a memory of yourself as a little kid. And you can wish these same phrases for yourself. May I be well. May I be healthy and strong. May I be happy and safe. May I be free from suffering. And may I live with ease. I'm just feeling whatever that feels like in your body to wish yourself well. And then the last step in this practice that we'll do today is to imagine everyone who's gathered in this Zoom room today from around the world, all these librarians, library employees, all showing up each day to serve others in their work. So wishing them well. So you can imagine this Zoom room of people, and we can offer it to all of us. May all be well. May all be healthy and strong. May all be happy and safe. May all be free from suffering. May everyone live with ease amidst whatever challenges and difficulties arise. May everyone find within themselves this deep well of quiet that can be with all the storms in life. And then taking a moment for yourself to just feel how this practice has had its effects, whatever they might be. And then taking your time to come out of the practice at your own pace and lifting your gaze and opening your eyes when you're ready. And again, using the chat if you'd like. And just sort of as like in closing, I'd like to just take a moment for yourself and pause and see for yourself. Maybe you have a pen, paper before you, place you can jot down a couple notes. Are there any of these practices that I've offered today that you feel might be supportive in your daily life and work? Something that you might want to try. So I'll just give everyone a few moments to maybe jot down a note or two. Or maybe you want to use the chat. Oh, wonderful. And please, yeah, feel free if you feel like journaling. Sometimes the wish to kind of journal comes up. So feel free after the session, you can do that if you have time. If you enjoyed any of these practices today, please join us for our virtual mindfulness program through the University of Miami Libraries. And you can find out more about our mindfulness and well-being program through this URL here. And I think Jose is going to drop it in the chat for us. Every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we offer free open virtual sessions for everyone to come. And so in closing, I wanted to come back to this image of the banyan tree and sort of an idea or a kind of inspiration that's been coming to me in my work lately over the last couple of years is how I feel like as we offer these mindfulness and well-being programs in libraries, And as we return to these contemplative roots of libraries themselves in their, monastic roots of libraries, at least in the Western tradition for sure, I feel like libraries might be realizing their tree-like qualities by serving as sites for cultivating inner resilience. Our libraries are filled with books made of trees, made out of trees. So we have a lot of connection there. So I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to share with you today. And if you'd like to connect with me and about the meditation practices or mindfulness and libraries, please feel free to reach out to me via my website, pivottotheheart.com. And my dog, Pivot, who passed away last year, is still an inspiration to me. So in part, I wanted to bring her in here at the very end. So I'm going to stop share and we can move to Q&A. And I think we have 8 minutes. I ran a little bit long. These practices kind of invite us to slow down, so slow down a little. But I'm also happy to answer questions, if you want to email me as well. So